need help?
Never grow old, Michael.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Showtime.
Welcome back to another edition of Sinister Scripts Podcast. We watch all the horror movies you know and love, some that you've never heard of. I am Ryan, one of your hosts, and with me is my co-host David.
What's going on, guys?
And we are joined today by James Dean, who is a writer, director, producer. You kind of done a lot in the film industry. And what is it's a monster? What's your company's name?
Monster Kid Productions.
Monster Kid Productions. That's it. I had it written down, but for some reason it removed it. So welcome, James. Thanks for joining us to talk about a few of your movies and just film in general, and just chat a little bit about horror and maybe some not horror in here too.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So actually, I actually got your was turned on to some of your films, and you from a friend of. Let's see, how do we know Jamie? It's David's wife.
He lives in Iowa, which is where my wife is from. Therefore, everybody in Iowa either she knows or is cousins with, basically. We stumbled across him because she had been hearing about him. Like, she remembered him from like a long time ago, like from school times and shit, she thinks. Yeah. But she remembers hearing about how he was making Are You Dead Yet? So, we reached out to him one time. We were visiting her family up there, and reached out, and, I had a sit down interview with him. And then me and him shot the shit for a few hours afterwards. He's a really cool dude. So
it's so easy to talk to Jamie for a few hours, for sure, because he's enthusiastic, and he's excited. He's just excited, and he loves horror films, and when you do also, it's like, oh yeah, we'll just keep this conversation going for hours and hours.
Exactly.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm not always able to, but I try when I'm going to go on a podcast to listen to at least one episode. Right. And I was scrolling through, and I put on the last one you guys did, but I was like, I wanted to see if I recognized anybody, or if there was a favorite movie of mine that you guys did. And then I saw that you had an episode with Jamie.
Yep.
And I was listening to it, and it was so funny because I actually ended up messaging him 20 minutes in. And then literally I went back to listening to it, and a minute later he mentions me, and I'm like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, Jamie's good people. We had him on, really enjoyed talking to him, and actually kept in touch with him, and he's getting ready to shoot the sequel. And I think David and I are planning on going to Iowa and gonna have a small part in the film. He's like, yeah, come on up, I'll find a spot for you. You can be this character, that character. We can have a lot of fun with it. You guys come up for the weekend. So I was like, holy crap, that's kind of cool just to be. It'll be my first time on any kind of set. And he was like, I'm gonna level with you. He's like, this is not like a professional production set you're coming into. This is kind of like a bunch of friends hanging out and making a movie. I was like, listen, everybody started somewhere. We all started somewhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have some weird thoughts on varying levels of indie film, right? I think you can make films in so many different ways, and the talent behind it, and the time you invest into it, and just what your overall goals and motivations are, all influence your approach. I won't lie, if I see someone who's made 150 movies in 5 years, and they've never put any effort into the sound, I'm not a negative person. I'm not gonna go out there and say anything about it, but I'm not gonna watch their movies. It's just not something that I'm not, but if I see someone who's made something that there was something in there that I really loved, but maybe there was some rough edges around it, and then I watch another one of their movies, and then another one, and I start seeing all this weird, wild freaking growth. That's so exciting to me. I was thinking about this before we jumped on here. The people that inspire me no longer are people who are super successful. They're the people that are the underdogs, the people who are really going out there just being artists and creating and telling their stories, and up against it. for, he made his first film for $2,000.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, maybe that wasn't his first film, but I think that's the first film of his that I'm aware of.
Right. Yeah, I think he had some other stuff like hand cam like on YouTube
Yeah.
channel at one point, but yeah, that was his first like
Yeah.
we're having an event and like releasing this and we're making, so I mean go ahead. Sorry.
I was
Go
gonna say, I'm gonna blow your mind here though when you said YouTube.
Yeah.
I know a filmmaker who released a documentary on YouTube and made $60,000 in 3 months.
Holy
So
smokes.
I definitely want to start like reframing YouTube and certain streaming services. Like a lot of these streaming services do not pay us any money. It's insane how little we get paid. And then if you go through a traditional distribution company, they get a cut, and sometimes they don't even pay you.
Sure.
So like YouTube is becoming more and more of a viable platform for filmmakers, and it has stigma with it still, but I think it's going to have much less in the upcoming years.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean that makes complete sense. You've seen the platform change even over since in its infancy to where it is now. And I'm seeing a lot of filmmakers that are making their early films, or like we know a couple of people we've had on the podcast, Braden Timmons, who does he did Halloween, some fan films. He's working on the third one now. So and they go out there and that's what they've been using is YouTube. So I mean I highly respect it, and I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, independent film. We're a smaller podcast. We're starting out. We're getting our feet, and the people of the indie film industry have been so generous with those are the people we've been talking to. Yeah, and honestly, listen, if Michael Bay called up and was like, "Hey, I want to come on the podcast," I'm not going to turn him down, right? But also, I love talking about independent film and being able to see what they're able to accomplish with the limitations they have. Like you said, a $2,000 budget, or you're shooting it with your friends, location challenges, all the stuff that they're able to kind of work around and still make something that at the end of it you're like, you know what, that was a really fun time. I had a good time watching it. I enjoyed it. And then, just in seeing the people, what's the word I'm looking for? All the camaraderie between the filmmakers and the actors, the actresses, and, all the sound people, the people that are doing the editing, everything. It's they're like one big family.
Yeah, no, and they really are. I think I heard you on the podcast when you interviewed him talking about going to Days of the Dead and watching some of the award shows and all the movies that were playing. And it really is wild because I had only went to one of the award shows. I'm not against awards or film festivals. Deep down it feels kind of like a circle jerk to me. I'm not looking for any external approval from anybody. So it's not something that's necessarily concerning to me. But at the same time, I went to the award show in Indianapolis for Days of the Dead, and like you said, the camaraderie, the support, even when someone was really hoping they would win a category and another filmmaker won it, it wasn't oh, okay, this guy won. It was right away they started clapping and they were excited and they were happy. And I love that. That is a reason to get me involved and to make me think maybe I do want to start checking these things out, if for no other reason, just to go and check out other people's films and to be around them and to be around that energy. It's really fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely, it's, when it rubs off on you, the energy there, and and the excitement does. And, and I think a lot of these people, probably for the most part, we're not going to have a podcast with 1 billion followers or, be the next massive director, the next Damien Leone or whatever. But you know what? Maybe they are. Maybe that does happen. But to your point, I've heard a lot of filmmakers, and I think you mentioned it just now, they're not doing it because they want to go to award shows and win this stuff. They're doing it because they love film, they love cinema, they love the creative process, and they believe in what they're doing, and they're making it for themselves, and they're making a story that they want to tell. They're storytellers.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths about indie film is that you don't have typically a producer or a studio telling you that you can't do this or you can't do that or this won't work, and you can embrace that, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was my brother-in-law is a freelance animator in New York, and I was at my nephew's birthday, and one of the people from his studio was there who was he's worked on Last of Us, and it's like some really bit
Yeah.
massive productions, right? And he was talking to me, and he was like, we were talking about indie film, and he was like, he's like, that's that's the way right now. He's like, studios are losing so much money because even big producers, even your Damien Leones and some of your bigger horror, the guy who did Weapons is at Krager's. Like a lot of these, they don't want to work with studios because the studios are doing nothing but tell them you can't do this, you have to do this. That we got to cut that out. That can't be added. And a lot of them don't want that to have their hands tied like that. They have a story they want to tell. And so he's like, a lot of them would rather work with the studios, like the smaller studios like Neon and, like Shutter exclusives and that are more likely to give them some free reign on a few things and let them make the movie that they envisioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I think, for me, I mean, again, this is just me. I've never had a goal of, I don't like the spotlight. I don't like being on stage. I don't want to be on that side of the camera. Now, I'm getting better at it. I had a podcast for a couple of years wwhere we interviewed indie filmmakers, and it definitely made me much more comfortable doing like stuff like this, just having conversations,
Right.
interviews, whatever. But to me, the goal was never LA or Atlanta or anything of that sort. I don't care. That's not, I will die happy if I die still pursuing my art, and that might mean at one point that I'm just making little documentaries about things that are important to me, and that's fine. I can do that. I have a camera. I know how to operate a camera. I know how to operate basic sound. Like I can do that. I can't make $100,000 movie with a full team, by myself. But I will make movies forever. I in one shape or form. And maybe I'll take little breaks because I'll tell you right now, it's fucking hard sometimes, and it does wear you down and grind at you. From my perspective, I write, direct, produce, sometimes do wardrobe, and then I love editing, and I also do color grading. And then sometimes I to save cost, I have done about 50% of the visual effects on our films. I usually reserve the harder stuff for people that are better than me because I'm not amazing at it, but I can do stuff that's passable, and I have a pretty high standard when it comes to like what is passable. So ideally I would love to do more and more of directing and less and less of some of those other things.
Gotcha.
I helped produce a friend's Western last summer, and well, I guess it was last summer and a little bit this summer. And like producing is interesting too to me. Like I actually do think when you just have one role and you're just focusing on it, it can be a lot of fun. It's a lot of work still, but when you have the right team in place, it just makes everything click a little bit better,
Right. So that kind of gets me onto my next. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my mic volume. It like went way up. So that kind of brings me to my next question, which is how did you get into filmmaking? Like what started you? And I know we brought you on here. One of your films that we're going to talk about is a horror movie.
Yeah.
One of them is a little bit more of like what I would consider like a dramatic thriller.
For sure.
But what got you? Like, first of all, is horror your genre of choice? And like kind of how did you get started making films?
Okay, so started making films. I fell in love with the medium. It was a magical experience as a kid, and in short, that would be the quickest, easiest answer. Is that I just fell in love with the magic behind them. I vividly remember going to see movies. I'm turning 45 in a few months, and like I don't know if you guys are a little younger. I'm thinking, but like
39. David's 42.
There we go. I don't know if you guys remember the little strips of lighting that would go up the ramps.
Oh yeah.
And like that, and then just like along the stairs when you're sitting in the theater. And I remember that, and that just felt like I was going up to like such a magical place as like a 5 or 6 year old. And like to me, that was like the big treat at the end of the week was just going to see a movie, and then all the other movies that fell into my lap over the years. And I always had an interest in somehow being involved in that capacity. For a while, I thought it was going to be more practical effects because I'm definitely a gore horror. Splat stick is one of my favorite like subgenres of like so ridiculously over the top that you're laughing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I fucking love it, you know. But I at the same time, like I found myself like the idea of telling stories was really intriguing to me. And as I got older, I didn't touch a camera until I was 35. And it was mostly because I came from a very blue collar family. I had my own business. I started my own business when I was like 20. And but it was always like a labor intensive kind of thing. And it was always you make money and you don't pursue these things because they don't make money.
Right.
And you know, and that's it, you know. And when I was 35, I was going through some changes in my life and I was like, you know, this is it. If I'm going to do it, I need to start now
Mm-hmm.
because you don't get good at anything on day one unless you're just like in the top, the very, very, very top percentile.
Right.
Exactly.
And you know, some of my first stuff, it was pretty bad. I mean, some of my newer stuff is pretty bad, I guess, depending on who. But like, you know, like so I love the idea of telling stories. I think my favorite genre will always be horror, but
Okay.
I don't want to say that I'm a horror filmmaker. That's where most of my films will probably fall, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a drama comedy that I'm dying to get into. It was almost the next film I made. I
Okay.
just thought, if I was being honest, that it would be easier to raise funds for a slasher or like a giallo film, which
Mm-hmm.
we're raising funds for you know, a love letter to giallo films right now.
Yeah.
And you know, in general, raising funds, getting people interested. The fan base for horror is so rabid, as you guys know.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
that is the easier genre to kind of start out in or to work on. I can say my drama comedy would have been a lot less expensive to make.
I'm sure.
But you know, I think I don't want to limit myself to anything. I don't like that idea, and I think it's kind of silly. And I don't have to, you know,
Right.
because you know, as long as I can raise funds, I can make it. You know.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about your films a little bit. And
Okay.
let's start with we'll call it XXXMas.
Yeah.
So I've got a note. So I first and foremost, I had a ton of fun with it, and
Yeah. Good.
I laughed out loud more
Good.
times than I thought. I
Good.
was like, I mean, some of the one-liners and
Yeah.
some of the stuff I thought was hysterical. But where did
Yeah.
the inspiration and like this wild idea? Like obviously we saw Art the Clown, you know, around Christmas, right? So we've seen something that made me think of like, okay, I love this. Christmas is such a magical time, right? I
Right.
grew up with that. I grew up just I love Christmas. My family loves Christmas. It's a big
Yeah.
time of the year, and for a lot of people in general, it's a fun time of the year where
Sure.
people. And so, how did you get the idea where you're like, hey, I'm going to make this Christmas horror movie centered around an adult film shoot?
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny because I was actually Absolution, which I think you guys watched also. That's like the
Yep.
thriller. That's like the drama thriller.
Yes.
We had shot that second actually, and
Okay.
it's going to be coming out here shortly, so it'll be our third film released. But um, I think I need to talk a little bit about that to get to Triple Xmas. So
Okay,
I
sure.
was halfway
Yeah.
through post production on that, and it had a much heavier toll on me creatively, and
Yeah.
just I put more of myself into it, like as far just you know some of the themes, they're much heavier. It's a serious film.
Absolutely.
It's not Santa losing his shit and killing porn stars, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And because it's a much more serious film, it did have a bit of it was pulling me down a little bit, you know. And
Mhm.
at some point I thought to myself, I really just want to go make a fun movie. Now, I somehow thought in the mix I was going to make a fun movie, finish post-production on Absolution, then finish post-production on Triple Xmas, and that just was never going to happen. So in the midst of it, I was talking to someone I didn't even know from Facebook, and she was talking about all her favorite kills, and I started thinking about cheesy, stupid slasher films that I absolutely love. It's important to note that I equally love shitty shark movies and Kurosawa films.
Dude.
Like
we are of the same ilk. Shark movies. I did a whole series, and I'm talking Mississippi River sharks.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
like stuff that's just bad. Trailer
Yeah,
park
yeah.
sharks. Yeah.
So now we're going to go on a tangent, but let me
I
just
know.
really quickly say my buddy and I, we looked up a YouTube video. This was like 10 or 12 years ago, and the guy made this video called the top 40 shittiest shark movies of all time.
Nice.
And we made it
Love
a
it.
mission to watch it. Now I think we ended up crossing off like 36 off the list, which is
Yeah.
just insane.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But then we also added like another 20 that weren't on his list because it was an older list, and then that was when Sharknado and everything was kind of hot. So
Yeah.
we probably crossed off like 60 shark movies, which is
That's
just
awesome.
it's awesome. It's also like, what are you doing with your life, James?
Yeah, I understand that.
But no, so I wanted to make something that was going to be fun. And I love paying like homage to things that I absolutely love, but not trying to recreate it. I have a bit of a pet peeve with filmmakers. I mean, I don't take any offense to it, obviously, but like it's silly if I go and try to remake Dead Alive. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a horrible version of it, and for so many reasons. It's not gonna do it justice. But there is a kill in XXXMas that is homage completely to a kill in Dead Alive, and I knew going in like I had to do that. The punch through the head is clearly from that, you know. So XXXMas, I just wanted to make something fun and silly, and I also was thinking about Christmas horror at the time. This was actually before was it part 3? I'm not sure which one. I'm gonna tell you guys something. I only watched the first Art the Clown.
I figured with your love of like splatter that you would be like that would be right up your alley.
I'm gonna say something that's sacrilege, and I don't ever talk bad about anybody's films, especially indie filmmakers. But the first one just didn't connect with me. I tried it twice.
Yeah.
I would have thought, especially with the way he pulls that girl like in half, or like he chains, like I would have thought, yes, this is my jam.
Yeah.
I have nothing but respect for that guy for taking indie film and doing what he's done.
Yeah.
That is fucking insane. Like it's I love it. I just never got around to watching any of them after that. And hopefully I will one day. You know?
I understand that. I always said that I am not. I mean, I have a. You can't really see it. It's up here, but it's Art the Clown's Eyes, signed by David Howard Thornton. Yeah. So I am an Art the Clown fan. I don't think the Terrifier movies are particularly good movies. They're fun, but I also think that Art the Clown is a great character. The character of Art the Clown is a great character, and David Howard Thornton plays him to perfection. But ultimately, like the first one, even into the second one, it's like I thought the second one was a little bit too long. But something about the third one was just, I was like, okay, you're putting this around my favorite time of the holiday, and he's dressed up as Santa, and I was like, this is funny. This is funny. Yeah, it was. So I mean, like, but I 100% get, because I was like that too. I was like, this is not for me. I even to the point where I didn't watch it because I do like gore in horror movies, but I also don't like I don't like unnecessary gore for the most part. I even messaged David, and I was like, David, go watch the first one and let me know, like, is this going to be too much for me? He watched the first one, and the girl that you're talking about, he was like, bro, like, I'm going to tell you, like, it's rough. And I was like, okay. And then, so I was like, fast forward, I'm getting off track, but fast forward, I was going to a convention where Terrifier 3 had just come out, and they were doing like a theater, and they were David Howard and Damien Leone. They were all presenting the film and doing a Q&A, and I was like, well, I can't go see the third one if I haven't watched the first two. Right. So I went back and watched 1 and 2, and I was like, all right, out of the way. I probably won't go back and revisit them. The third one I might, though, but I 100%, I understand what you're saying, though.
You know what's funny, though, is like if you take another series that had similar success, I mean, arguably not as big, but like the Hatchet series.
Oh yeah.
I really got into those. I don't know. Maybe it was a different time in my life. I mean, a sand belt to the face and just ripping someone's face wide open.
Yeah.
Yes, please give me that. Like
those are some crazy movies.
Victor Crowley he is underestimated, and he does not get the love he deserves.
I agree. I love those movies. And so long story short, XXXmas, I wanted to make something that was just ridiculous, that could be fun, that we had some money that we could put in some crazy kills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm given some insider like background stuff, we shot that in 10 days, and it's insane. It's insane. Wow. If I was going to make it again, I wouldn't even try to make it for less than 16 or 18 days. And I would want at least another $20,000. Honestly, another 50,000. I mean, which would have been more than what the original budget was.
Yeah, that would be fun. Like I thought it was, I mean, mission accomplished. It was a fun fun film.
Good.
And I gotta say, like, Christmas horror has kind of become this kind of like what I would consider like a cult following, you know, with a lot, you know, and I know that they're having Silent Night, Deadly Night. They're remaking that this year, into this year. So, I mean, how did you kind of pick what like festive traditions to kind of twist into something this terrifying? Because I love your homages to like with the candy canes, and then the guy with the guy that had like the banana hammock on that was like the reindeer.
Oh, the little elf guy.
Yeah. And then there's the elf. I was like, man, there are so many fun like little like Easter eggs like referencing the holidays.
I'm moving. I'm moving in like a couple weeks, and I've been going through so much wardrobe and just stuff, and I still had that in a fucking bag. I just threw that out. And I texted Jonathan Mayup, the guy that I love Jonathan. He's amazing. And like, you know, when I I want to get sidetracked so easily. When we went to go do that, I always check with people. I'm like, hey, I wanted to make sure this is okay. And I sent him from Amazon. I was like, this is what I'm thinking you're going to be wearing. Are you okay with that? But funny enough, the other guy who played Jackrabbit,
was he the one that was always flexing and like
yes. Sean William Scott. He's actually playing the killer in our next film, and he's also just equally just a fantastic human. I love him. We had modesty garments for everybody, like male and female, because like, you know, this isn't a porn set. It's taking place on a porn set, but we're not. This isn't porn, you know.
Right.
And he came out of the bathroom pretty much completely naked, and all he had on was a Schnucks bag, which I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like a grocery store bag.
Yeah, I'm from Illinois originally.
Wrapped around his balls and dick. And I'm like, let me check with the actress, because this isn't what we talked about. Like, I'm okay with it, man. I'm okay. I'm like, yeah, but is everybody else okay with it?
His character was cracking me up. Like when they were around doing the round table where they were like, we're gonna do a full feature film, and he was like, hell yeah, man. He's like, this is A24. Like he was just, and then he was like, yeah, I'm gonna level with you. This is not good. Like, but he was just like a total bro, and I loved every second of it.
He's a total bro, and like on the surface, that's what you would think. And it almost like he's so good looking, he's so funny, and he's so charming. It's like I'm not gonna like this guy. And then you talk to him for 5 minutes. And then you end up liking him, and he's just such an awesome human. And I'm like, damn it, dude. Now I like you and dislike you at the same time. he's such an awesome human.
You can't have all of the gifts.
He does.
Right?
He does. So the one thing that's like pretty funny about like XXXmas is there were like 4 or 5 different filmmakers, directors on set that were playing roles. Like you know, Drew Marvick made Pool Party Massacre. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. If not, you should go check it out. It's sleazy, low rent, and he's making part 2. But Drew Marvick is a bit of like a TikTok sensation now. Like some of the stuff the guy who plays Johnny Duckett in the film is a real director in real life also.
That's awesome.
Chris Rupert. And I mean, he makes like serious fucking amazing indie films. He made a movie called Transient. Like he's someone you should definitely talk to.
Okay.
And there's just there's so many people that were involved in different capacities. My DP, he's directed short films, so like just having so much talent around, it was wild. And then I mean the beautiful girls, it just, you know, I knew what I was trying to do here.
Sure. Like you can't, okay, let's get one thing out of the way. You can't have a horror movie with Santa killing porn stars and have the porn stars not be beautiful. Like,
right.
Let's get that out of the way. It's kind of a requirement. Now, kind of segueing from that into casting, I got to ask, what is it like working with Felissa Rose?
I love Felissa, and she is. Have you met her in person?
I've met her in person, and it's very quick at conventions, obviously, but she is so genuine and so kind, and I love that. That's how that she's like, you know what? I could try to separate myself from like Sleepaway Camp and the horror if I wanted to, but she's like, you know what? This is who I am. I am like a scream queen, and I'm gonna be in. And she's in so many indie films. I absolutely love her.
Yep. And there's multiple reasons for that, and I'm gonna tell you right now that what you saw for, you know, the minute or 2 you were with her, that is who she is all the time. She is the sweetest human being. So the Western I helped produce, I got her on for one day, so she has a cameo in the Western, which I know she doesn't maybe necessarily do a lot of Westerns, but I was just wanting to work with her again, and I wanted to bring her in on it. And you know, of course, she's in My Blade Is Your Salvation, the new Giallo we're making, and she has a bigger role for sure. She plays the captain of the police precinct.
Oh,
so
wow.
you know, she Yeah, that's another thing, not to diverge once again, but I love working with someone and then like flipping it on its head and giving them something totally different and giving them more than something that they're normally used to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're actors. They want to play. They want to have
Mm-hmm.
fun and they don't want to
Yeah.
keep playing the same role over and over, you know?
Right. And it's funny because I've seen like we've done interviewed a few different indie filmmakers and a lot of them have had Felissa in some of their projects.
Sure.
And it's so funny because yes, everyone knows her from Sleepaway Camp. Like we all
Yeah.
know this. But to your point, they put like, it's so funny how she gets casted in such a variety of different roles. She's not like yes, she's a scream queen, but she's been I've seen her in some really really serious roles. I've seen her in some funny stuff. Like she's much more than just a horror actress. But it is funny that she's like it almost seems like you know what you're making a film. Yeah, Felissa Rose is in that bitch. Like hell yeah, she's so awesome.
And again, it's because she's such a super sweet human being and she's talented. Like you start checking those two boxes and it's like that's everything, right? I mean, yeah, she's just fantastic. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so talking about the effects, you mentioned earlier, do like practical effects. So it sounds to me like we're kind of the same vein, all of us here. David and I talk all the time about how we love practical effects, and that's what we grew up on. And I love when I see, and I know that today in today's filmmaking, it's kind of hard, especially in big budget things. You're not going to CGI exists. It's going to exist.
Right.
You're going to have certain things are going to have to be done via CGI or other means, but using practical effects, I absolutely love. So talk to me about like were most of your kills practical, or digital, or was it kind of a mix? And do you have a favorite kill from the movie that you really liked doing the effects for?
For sure, for sure. So it was 95% practical, I would say.
Oh, wow.
There's one of my favorite kills early on is actually VFX, but we attempted it two times with practical effects. We just it was not working. So there's a head crush.
Yeah.
And that was actually visual effects, not practical.
Oh wow.
But I will say, again, with something like that, I was very picky, and I knew going in that I wasn't going to have some rando just doing my effects on that.
Yeah.
So he did a fantastic job with that for it being visual effects. I think my favorite kill, just for the shock factor, for how it kind of kicks things off. The tempo of the film drastically changes at that point is the head punch.
Yeah.
The punch through that guy's head is, I think, just such a fun moment. It's paying homage to Dead Alive. I also really like the boiling water over the head.
That one was fun.
Oh yeah, that was
pretty gruesome.
I think my favorite, and it was just because of the line that was afterwards, is when he stabs her with the fire poker, and then he pokes the guy, and he's like, "That's what you call double penetration." Yeah. I was like, "That's amazing. That's the best thing I've heard."
I co-wrote the film with my buddy, and he has a background in writing, and you've mentioned few lines that he wrote. And you mentioned a few things that I've written. So like, I just think it's so awesome that like, there's a combination of things that did work.
I was laughing out. That was one of the points when I was like, I'm laughing out loud. This is funny. And like, because I was like, that's so perfect. Like maybe it's like the 13-year-old teenage boy in me that's like,
yeah, it was.
So I can speak to this because I wrote that line in particular. I think that line could have either worked great, or it could have also not worked great. And I think Drew Marvick he's so good,
Yeah.
And he sells it so well. Like he's so good in that way. So, yeah.
So what, you mentioned, we said 10 days it took you to film this one, or 15? Yeah. Okay.
No, it was 10.
So
it was 10.
Okay. So with that condensed timeline, what were the biggest challenges, like the toughest day on set? What made it difficult? Did you ever have any come in one day where you're like, shit, it seems like every filmmaker's had this day where like everything goes wrong, nothing goes right, whether it's, and I know the power outages were built into the film, but like stuff like that. Did anything like that happen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We had a guy on set who was just a dickhead. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna say who it was.
Yeah.
But you'll never see me work with him again. And he was just a dickhead through and through. And sometimes you get that. I'm a pretty laid back person. I try not to have an ego. But sometimes you have to roll with these things,
Yeah.
And I mean that was a situation. besides that, like they were a little bit longer days. We shot overnight. So like, when you're shooting at night, you get tired,
Naturally, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The cast was pretty much fantastic. They were just so sweet, and so talented. So like that was nice. We didn't have enough. I didn't give myself enough time for pre-production on that film. The crowdfunder ran longer than I wanted it to, so I ended up having like half the amount of time for pre-production. So, yeah, we also got dick blood on the ceiling. I don't know if that can factor in, but
did you rent the place? Did you get your deposit back?
We did rent the place. He asked for an extra $1,000 deposit, and no, we did not get the deposit back. And you know what? I was completely fine with that. We spent a lot of time cleaning the place and trying to get it up. I mean, you saw the bathroom sequence. You saw how much blood that was.
That was very bloody.
We scrubbed that wall 4 or 5 times, and I was one of the wees in that. But I mean, I also had like a PA and I had a producer scrub the wall. There's certain, but like the ceilings were tall, and I don't know why, like I was not anticipating the dick blood to spray that high.
Was it the scene where the elf bit off his dick?
It was indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was about to ask you. I'm like, who came up with this scene? This is amazing. Like, I love that. Like, I forget the whole time that he's running around and he has like the apron on.
Yeah.
For some reason in my mind, I kept calling him the Publix checkout boy. I'm like the Publix checkout guy. Like,
he's
like
a little bag boy.
Yeah. I'm like, this is so much fun. But then the one, what was the character's name? Because he was famous, right, for being like something hung.
Oh, Attila the Hung.
Attila the Hung. That's
Kyle. Kyle.
I thought it was a great name, and then they were like, "Oh, his dick got bit off." I was like, "Oh, that's too bad for that guy."
It's so funny because even Kyle's awesome. Also, like Kyle, now he's directing his first film.
Nice.
And he also runs Smoky Mountain TerrorCon. So like in Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah. So like, like it's awesome like meeting all these people and just he's a great guy. He's also, of course, he hired Felissa because he loves her. Everyone loves Felissa,
Yeah, everyone.
It's it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of stress involved, not a big enough crew, not enough days on set. It was just tough.
It just sounds like that happens. All right, one more thing I wanted to go on. I'm just going down my list of questions. I had so many questions, but I was just like, the music and the sound. I loved the subtle music with like, amazing. I felt like it was like Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and like silent. Like, I love the traditional Christmas music in the background while Santa's just like candy caning people in the face and like wild. I thought it was the perfect like contrast that it worked. It was almost like just a little absurd, but also like it fit so perfectly. So yeah,
and
exactly.
That's right. And that's kind of the goal, right, of that film, is just to be a little absurd. The funny thing is that some Christmas music is open now. There's no real copyright around it, as long as you're not using the original performance. So that was lucky enough. I just had to be able to license it through a big enough one of these sites online, and I could use it. And so I made, I also knew, outside of like with our new film, I hired Voyager 3 to do the score, and they understand kind of like the giallo and like the synth feel that I'm looking for.
Nice.
But like, I knew that was going to be the last great opportunity to be able to use stock music in that way.
Yep. All right. One more question I have before we get into, because I want to talk about Absolution and then a little bit about your newest project too. If you had a chance to, where you're making another serious film and you need to do something fun again, and you could tackle another holiday, what holiday in like a slasher or horror movie would you like to tackle that you think would be fun?
I toyed with the idea of doing like a XXXMas Part 2, so it'd probably be Christmas again.
Nice.
I mean, if it has to be a different holiday, I mean Halloween. I mean, I'm a huge fall.
I got you.
I mean Halloween, of course, but I think Christmas has so much opportunity there. And I think just working with Drew Marvick and so many of these people, I'd bring some of them back even though they died, and they just played identical twins, because why the fuck not?
It's easy enough.
What other movie besides XXXMas Part 2 could I actually do that and get away with it, right? Like no other film I ever make will I be able to do that. So like if I wanted to bring back one or two people and just say they were twins, I could probably do it with that movie.
You could get away with it.
100%. 100%.
I don't think anyone would really give a shit, to be honest.
No.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for all those stories. Those are fun. I really did enjoy the movie, so I appreciate you sharing that because I had a lot of fun with it. Now, it's kind of switching gears to a definitely a more serious tone. Absolution, which you said was shot first, but is your most recent release, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have one more. We have one more screening that's coming up. I'm still waiting for the date, and then streaming this fall. Yeah.
Nice.
So Absolution reminded me very much of it is a drama, what I would consider more of like a dramatic thriller. Definitely has some violence in it, which was fun, but it kind of reminded me of like a Clint Eastwood. Like you've got a veteran who is kind of this, has his demons, and he is, he rescues a young girl from a brutal gang attack, and kind of decides that he's going to take things into his own hands a little bit, and that's kind of, but it's got a little bit more depth to that because you kind of learn the character, what he behind him, like his reasoning behind it, and then how he cares for this young girl, and then the how him and this young girl kind of team up, and with the help of some friends, take on this brutal gang who's not so nice actually. So what sparked your idea for this one? How did you kind of put it, because it was much more of an intense
And that was the goal. That was the goal for sure. So like, again, I love all kinds of movies. I love grindhouse exploitation films, and Death Wish would probably be one of the. Death Wish and Blue Ruin are the two.
Isn't that what you said, David? Did you say Death Wish?
Yeah, he said it. He said it. So those would be the two that inspired it. But like in a thematical way of looking at it, you don't usually get to your 40s without having certain things that you've went through in your life where you've like, I probably could have handled that better, or I could have been a better human, or I have regrets. And I thought about what that would be like if you stepped into something that was like an addiction and you extrapolated that for another 30 years out, know? Yeah. And I had worked with John Mefford, the lead. He is, and I will tell you right now, he is hands down one of the best actors I've ever worked with in my life. And he is when I met him, he had 40 years of theater experience.
Wow.
And nice. He's just, he was in my first film, Fontaine and the Vengeful Nun Who Wouldn't Die. He plays a Nazi surgeon. Oh. If you think XXXMas is crazy, you should go check out Fontaine. It's on Tubi. It's also pretty insane. It's definitely firmly in the exploitation vibes.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's crazy. But he played a Nazi surgeon, and he was so good in that capacity of just being so crazy. And I was like, I want to cast this guy. I have to work with him where he's the lead. I had to, And if you work with someone and they're that good that they kind of dictate that's, and a lot of times the stories I write, they have part of me in them, which I kind of just outlined a bit, but I write characters around real people I know a lot of times, like real actors that I've worked with. And I knew right away he was the lead, like right away. Right. And that's kind of how it went off. It's actually the fastest I've ever written anything. I wrote the first draft in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So, and like, I there were of course revisions, but to me, I've never had something like just flow out of me so effortlessly, except after I ate like Taco Bell one night,
I can relate. The main character, he reminded me a lot of my grandfather. My grandfather was from North Florida, and he's a little rough around the edges. But he's a big kind of a teddy bear at heart. It reminded me a lot, just especially his storytelling, like the scene where he is making eggs and he's telling her the joke about the bears, and the barbiturate story. Just the delivery of that. Like I found myself, I'm like, just like glue, like he's very captivating, and I really felt like he did a good job of kind of keeping me there. And maybe, like I said, maybe it was like he reminds me of my grandfather, but like he did a very good job of kind of playing that character where he's dealing with some addiction clearly for a long time,
for sure,
but also has like a lot of different themes. Like I felt like guilt and kind of the morality and some of the consequences of his past actions. You kind of get to see all of that kind of unload, where he kind of knows he's like, yeah, he knows this is kind of the end for him. He's kind of winding things down, but he's still got a little bit of fight left in him, which I really appreciated. So I thought he did a great job portraying that, and the character was written, and I think he did exactly what the character needed.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I mean, like it's always awesome, and not to take anything away from Mariana Garcia, who played Joey. She also played in XXXMas. She was the camera assistant, or she was the assistant.
I thought that looked like, okay. I thought she looked familiar. I was like, okay.
And funny enough, she's been in a relationship with my director of photography now for a few years, and now she's our first AC. And if you want to talk about someone who is just like one of those people who are talented, they could do this or they could do that.
Yeah.
Everything she touches, she just excels at. Like it's crazy.
That's amazing.
And she's also done modeling. So I mean, like,
I remember thinking like in XXXMas, I was like, wow, she's really pretty, and she's just like this assistant.
Yeah. Well, she's also, I knew with XXXMas, I had worked with her obviously on Absolution, but I also knew that she wasn't comfortable with the nudity or anything, but I still wanted to have her involved. And so, it's talking about how small the crew was. Not only was she acting in XXXMas, she was also first AC on XXXMas. So, like, and she literally sometimes would go from one side over here helping with camera and literally come over here, do slate, and then just like hand the slate off, and she'd start acting. She would just turn it on like that. Like
that's hard to do.
It's insane. It's insane. She's so talented. But yeah, no, huge differences between XXXMas and Absolution. XXXMas we shot 9 days in a row, and then we did one other full day like a few months later. Absolution we shot over 13 weeks, and we had 21 shoot days.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
And with having the 21 shoot days, you can do a lot more storytelling. You can be a lot pickier with performance. You can be a lot pickier with cinematography. Just so many things. And to also kind of take it another direction, the character of Sam, who's played by my good buddy Brian Davis, in Absolution, he's the lead in My Blade Is Your Salvation, the new film we're making.
Oh, nice. I like this character.
Yeah, he just looks like he's stepped off of a fucking cover of GQ.
Kinda, yeah.
So he's always posting pictures on Facebook of him shirtless, and that's why I wrote the part of him like chopping wood.
Oh, yeah. We got to use this.
But then I brought it back because the axe does come back. So like I didn't want to just write it like that. I had to think about how can I incorporate this later.
Like a little foreshadowing, yeah.
Nice.
So when you work with a story like this, how do you work with your cast to kind of portray, because it is a very layered film, and like trying to get that, it's like, I feel like for XXXMas, they're having fun. Right. But for this, you're trying to elicit certain feelings and dealing with a much darker subject matter. So like you mentioned, the actress who played Joey could just turn it on and turn it off. Yeah. Is it that easy for everyone, or is it definitely no. Okay? Because how do you get your actresses kind of into that, and actors into the mode of like, okay, you're trying to portray this very different, darker tone. So
I have a lot of thoughts on this. One is having these conversations before you get on set is huge. 2, trusting your actor. You cast them for a reason, and you're not going to be able to do line reads with them. It's not going to benefit the performance doing a line read. It's not going to benefit the performance telling them how to portray something. Making adjustments are drastically different than painting the picture for them, if that makes sense. So, as a director, it's your goal really to keep things on the right path, And if you let actors act and have freedom with it, they often will surprise you with things you didn't know about that character, because as a director, you're trying to think of the story. You are, of course, thinking about all these individual characters, motives, arcs, all these things. But you're thinking about all of them at once. They're thinking about that one character, and they're really trying to bring it to life and embody it. And trusting an actor to show up and bring what they want to bring to it, and not over giving direction before they can bring their version to life. You can always correct, you can always adjust, you can always say, hey, that's not what I was thinking here. And I have done that. I've even done that with someone I had never worked with before. They came out and they were just at a 10, and I was like, that's not what we're doing here. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be a dickhead. I didn't want to
Right.
be, and it was actually on XXXmas, which is funny enough because like
Yeah.
tens would have been like over the
Yeah.
top, but it was just
Right,
too
right.
much for that part right there,
Right.
and like most actors, as long as they're not brand new, they're okay with that.
Right.
You want to develop that relationship with an actor where they trust you and you trust them. It's not a one-way thing, and
Right.
giving them that freedom to explore things a bit, I think goes a long way.
Exactly. And the one scene that stuck out to me, the reason I asked that was because the scene where the two gang members come into his house and it's just her there,
Yeah,
and it's a scene where he's trying to sexually assault her.
yeah,
And
for sure.
and so that to me that's like it's a trigger for a lot of people including myself. Like sexual violence is a really rough one, and I felt
Yeah,
like I believed her because sometimes you're expecting the character to be like, "Oh no, like don't hurt me," and she was like,
Yeah.
"What? You want some of this, bitch?" Like she
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mad. She got
Yeah.
mad almost. Like she was like it was almost you could see the fight or flight like
Right,
in
right.
for real. I mean it was
I,
acting, but for real. And I was like, I'm like, wow, she did a really great job in that scene.
Mhm.
she's so fantastic. So one thing that I'm not a fan of is when male writers write weak female characters. I'm
Oh,
honestly not a fan of weak female characters anyway. My favorites,
Mhm.
posters right there. Alien, Sigourney Weaver in part one.
my cat's name is
Yeah,
Ripley.
buddy.
My cat's name is
Yeah.
Ripley. I'm a big fan.
I mean, strong female characters, even when they've been through adversity and have had this shit like kicked out of them or
Hmm.
sexually assaulted or whatever it is, having
Yeah.
them come out the other end and fuck up the people that fucked them up, but even worse.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like it's a moment of like empowerment for me as a
Hmm.
viewer or as a writer, a director.
Oh yeah.
And even just making sure every character has their own voice and agency.
Hmm.
Um, and we all can do that when you're making a first draft of something.
Right.
When you're trying to have 15 different characters, each have a unique voice. It's easy to lose track and like all of a sudden this character is just a gray nothingness. It could be anyone, and they're probably not even needed. Giving them that voice and agency is so important, and making sure that the actor brings it to life is just as important. Yeah, she
Exactly.
totally understood the assignment, I think.
Yeah, it was. I
Yeah.
was. It was. I think everybody like everybody did a great job, but that
Yeah,
that seemed it really stuck out to me, and I agree. Like, and it's funny because I mean I know this is more horror thriller drama versus triple Xmas, but like horror is notorious for like oh the damsel in distress, like the final
yeah,
girl, but then but to your point, all of my favorite final girls are all it's the Ripleys, it's Aaron
yeah,
from Your Next, it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
it's
Badass.
ones that are like they turn the tables, and I'm like I mean you can even say Jamie Lee. I mean I know a lot of people are like well she was like the first like yeah did she really get revenge? It took her however many years to get her revenge, but I appreciate that too, and I also think that it showed the progression and the growth of that character because through the end she did get her revenge. At the
yeah,
end,
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
did turn the tables, and you saw her fighting back. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. Like the end scene at the house, the woodcutter at his house, that the end final scene was
Yeah.
really fun. I thought it was really well done. So yeah, that was. I was just curious how, and I think you nailed it. Like let the actors act, which I've heard a lot of. Like listen, they're the professionals for a reason. Like let them cook, but then also like you're there to provide the direction. And I think that's
Yeah.
like I don't know if I could do that. Like that's a hard like hat to wear because it's like you're trying like because you have a vision of what you're trying to a story to tell and what you're trying to portray. They have a vision for the role, and
Yeah.
sometimes those may
Yeah.
not
Me.
see eye to
Yeah.
eye.
I
Um,
yeah, they may not. That you're absolutely right. They may not. I think, a film, there's this phrase, a film gets made three times, when it's written, when it's shot, and when it's edited,
mhm.
and it may even get made many more times of that and the little things that come along, just being open to things. The creative process, filmmaking's not a solo endeavor,
Right.
not when you're acting, not when you're working with actors, it isn't. If you're
Right.
doing a documentary, you could probably shape it pretty much yourself. But um, yeah, I mean, I saw kind of to speak a little bit to what you were saying. I just saw a clip by Del Toro, who is just like phenomenal, right? Del Toro is just amazing.
Oh
And he
yeah.
was talking about no matter how much time he puts into pre-production and planning, and clearly watching his films,
Mhm.
you know how much time and effort he puts into those
Oh
things.
yeah.
He said that once you get on set, it's like, what was the word he used? He said it was like coordinating and orchestrating was the word he used.
Hmm.
Anarchy.
Okay.
And this
I
is
can
Del
see that.
Toro. This is Del Toro.
Yeah.
And he said that every day he would have 30 what the fuck is this coming up to him, you know? And you
Mhm.
have to make a decision. And you have to make a decision quick because every minute costs dollars and it costs time. And you have to, and if you don't know the answers, then you have to figure out the answers really quick, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think there's a bit of that. And sometimes it is a mix of, well, this is what I envisioned and this is what you're envisioning. Sometimes I'll even do where we'll do it what's in the script twice.
Mhm.
So I have two takes, and then we'll do it your way, and then we'll see what it looks like in the edit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if their little nuance doesn't completely reshape and change the overarching story or like the thematics of it, I'm
Mhm.
usually wide open to suggestions and what they're going to bring to a character, because again, they're bringing depth to these characters, you
Have you
know.
ever had them?
Exactly.
Have you ever done that shot and then you're like, that was better than I could have ever written it?
Yes. Yes. I've encountered that. I think the best directors are going to be open to the help from the people around them.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. This goes for leaders and directors, to not know answers, to admit not knowing answers, and to ask for help. And I
Yeah.
think if you can do that, you can bring in much better than what you were going. I mean, again, it's a team endeavor, you know. Like
Right.
I'm always like me, myself, and my DP. We're 90% on the same page when we talk about shots, you know?
Mhm.
And when we're not, there has to be a captain. So there has to be someone that makes the final say. Otherwise, you could be
Sure.
sitting there forever.
Right.
But at
Right.
the same time, he and I will talk about these things. And it's not like we're going to argue or like try to, talk about who has the biggest dick in this situation. We're
Right.
both there to try to figure out what will work the best.
Yeah.
And often we'll talk about the story or the motivation behind the shot
Mhm.
and why it would be better if we did his versus mine, or why we might be able to combine a few shots and how it doesn't really make a difference except it saves time, you know?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
No.
it's important to
100%.
be collaborative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like and the whole point is like, can you make a movie by yourself, you alone? Yes, sure. But when you're having these stories that you're trying to tell and you have this many moving parts, like it has to be collaborative. You have your
It
sound,
does.
you have your there's no other way around it. And so
Yeah.
that's why I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, there's so many people in Hollywood and stuff that don't play well with others." I'm like, "How did these people ever like get to where they are if they don't play well with others and it's their way or the highway?" Like I would think that they would
Right.
at one point. Now maybe it gets to a certain point where like Del Toro. Maybe with Del Toro, it's his way or the highway because he's earned that, right?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, you find that those people are not like that because the reason they got there was because they surrounded themselves with good people and they listened and they took other people's input. That's why they
Yeah.
got there.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think 100%. I don't. How rare is it to find someone who is the top 0.01% of anything?
Right.
You know,
Exactly. So,
yeah.
well, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I didn't want to leave before we talked about your newest film and kind of
Sure.
switch gears into Blade is My Salvation.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that because I know it's currently in crowdfunding now. Correct? You guys are
Yeah,
still
it
crowdfunding.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, tell me a little bit about the idea for it and kind of where you're at with the process, and when you plan on start shooting, all that good stuff.
Yeah. My Blade is Your Salvation. It's about Detective Sullivan. He's on the hunt for a serial killer. The serial killer has like a warped idea of morality and righteousness, and he's using something I also like to explore is our religious themes, even though I'm not religious.
Right.
But I
Nice.
don't like doing it in a way of just saying, "Hey, all religion is bad" or "all this is bad." I think that's not the best way to approach it. But I
Sure.
do love playing in that area a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, yeah, he's pursuing this serial killer, and yeah, that's the basic synopsis of it. It's a
Yeah.
giallo film or a love letter to giallo films.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's 70% giallo, 20% James's weird sensibilities, and you can see that sometimes James gets pretty fucking weird. And then like maybe even 10% like Seven,
Yeah.
Nice.
David Fincher Seven
Yeah.
without the David Fincher,
Yeah.
so it's not going to be as good, obviously. But yeah, I have some of my favorite fucking people involved with this. Both people I've worked with, like Brian Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he played Sam in Absolution. He also plays a character in Fontaine. He's
Mhm.
always been on set because he's a stunt fight choreographer that works with
Oh,
me. So I've been working with
nice.
him for 7 years. And I just have so many other people. I have Jessa, Felissa. I mean, I have Lynn Lowry, who I've never worked with, but she's fantastic. Our conversations have been amazing. Bill Oberst Jr.,
Yeah.
who gave me some of
Papa
the
Corn.
yes, he gave me some of the best compliments anyone could have ever done on the script because he's actually a pretty religious individual.
Okay.
And he plays someone that's not a great human in this, and he gave me compliments that I could have just thrown religion in general under the bus, and I didn't. And I love that because that's not what I'm. It's easy to stand on a soapbox and talk about something being bad, but that's
Right.
not my intent here. But I mean, like, if you look down the cast list, if you go to Indiegogo.com or just type in "My Blade Is Your Salvation," you'll see the cast we have. It's crazy. Like, these people are so incredibly talented, both in the indie realm and both, and a little bit higher than that in some
Mm-hmm.
cases.
Yeah, Giallo film is so. I feel like it's kind of slept on.
Yeah,
I obviously you
Mhm.
can think of Argento.
for
Obviously
sure.
it's the first thing that comes to your mind. But I think it's such
Right.
a cool genre of like it's like this blend of like kind of like you said like James's crazy mind. Like it's kind of this
Yeah,
blend of you got slasher elements, thriller elements, psychological horror, even some supernatural in some Giallo film.
yeah,
Plus, you got your like sexploitation. I mean, there's a lot that you can I don't want to say there's not like a wrong direction you can take this, so I'm super excited to see where you go with it. And also, I love like the color
Yeah.
palettes
yeah,
for Giallo film, and just everything is just vibrant, neon, like almost like reminds me of like cyberpunk, but through a different lens, like a
yeah, yeah,
different
yeah,
filter.
yeah.
So I mean, I love Giallo, so I'm super excited to see what you do with it, just because like I said, I don't think there's enough Giallo film like now. A lot of it's older, 70s,
Sure,
80s.
sure.
You don't see a lot of current stuff that is. Every once in a while, you'll have a movie maybe where it is you can see some influence from
Inspiration.
Giallo, yeah. But
Right.
Yeah.
ultimately, like I'm interested to see kind of the direction you take this because we don't get enough of it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Sounds great.
appreciate that. Yeah. I will say real quick, there's The Last Matinee. I don't remember exactly. The Last Matinee is worth checking out. It happens mostly in a movie theater. So check that out, guys.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to say it's either Italian or French. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I watch a lot of movies and I get high sometimes beforehand, so sometimes they all blend together.
Right.
I listen.
But
It, it,
it's a fun one. It's a fun one to watch for sure.
Okay,
Cool.
awesome. And so for those of you listening, go out there and go out to Indiegogo and support James. Check, drop a, I think it's like, they have all kinds of perks for the film. It give you more details on the film too. So yeah, I'm super excited to see with that one. Ultimately, once it's out,
Yes.
we'd love to talk to you, about that
For sure.
once we have a chance to take a look at it. Obviously,
Yeah.
for now, we want to keep it mostly under wraps, so it's a surprise, right? We want to see,
Yes.
once it comes out. So, but that's all the questions that I had for you. If you actually, I had one more. If you had any advice for anyone, I always like to ask, filmmakers this on people that are either saying, I want to try my hand at acting. I myself, I wrote a script for a horror short. And after I wrote it, I realized that I don't know if there's any way I can make it because I love underwater horror. I love like,
Yeah.
stuff that's aquatic horror, like Leviathan and stuff like that, Sphere. And I realized that this whole horror short that I wrote took place in a submersible, and I'm like, how the fuck am I ever gonna film this? I don't own a submersible. Am I gonna like
Yeah.
make it anyway? Long story
When there's a
short,
will, there's a way, man.
right? I have the script, and I started making storyboards because I was like, you know what? I want to use this creative bone. But what advice would you give for someone who either wants to act, direct, write, produce, like and get into film? Whether not relating any genre, it could be anything: comedy, horror, drama. What advice would you give someone?
I think I was listening to quotes by Stoic philosophers, and it's funny because we're talking about something that's 3,000 years ago, and
Hmm.
one of the quotes was, "If you want to be a writer, write. That's it. If you wanna do something, start doing it.
Hmm.
Stop coming up with all the reasons why you can't. Yeah, there's
Right.
plenty of them, I'm sure.
Sure.
And just start doing it, and one foot in front of the other. I think showing up is more of the battle than people realize.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Um, Getting notes is always good, from people that you trust. But remember, it's your story,
Yeah.
and yeah, just do it. You know,
That-
Nike,
Yeah.
and Stoic philosophers. What else is there? You know,
Yeah, and I always and spending a lot of time, like when I started the podcast, I was and we started going to these conventions and stuff. I was super nervous, like meeting some of these actors and actresses like Felissa and stuff, and even like filmmakers who are like, yeah, their movies there, they're promoting it, and people are like, oh, ask them to come talk on the podcast. I'm like, nah, they don't want to hear from me, and I'm like, the biggest piece of advice, like, ask the fucking question.
Yes.
Just ask. What's the worst that someone could say? No.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. Fine. But you know what I found more than anything? People say yes a lot more than they say no.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
far, yeah.
People want to talk about the things they've worked really hard on, and they want to promote it, you know?
Yeah.
And for sure. Yeah.
So network, especially like we talked about the horror convention, the film festivals, network, meet those people that are acting, because a lot of times they might be looking for work. They might be looking for experience. They might be coming out and just wanting to be like, hey, I want to be on a set and volunteer. I mean, the story, Lloyd Kaufman and Trauma, like how many people has he had that worked for him as volunteers, sleeping on the floors of churches that are now the James Gunns and now, the major, that have been major success. That's how they started. They started somewhere. And to your point, just do it, write it, try to, talk to people, get notes on it. So I 100% agree with you. And, I can tell you're very passionate about what you do. And I'm glad that you have this, like, this vibe about you of like, I'm making this for me. I'm not looking for like like, what would you say? Like, sometimes I can be a pain in the ass, but you have a story you want to tell, and you are making this for you, and you're making this story to be told. And I think that what you've done so far absolutely comes across. I really did enjoy both of your films that we got a chance to watch and chat with you about today.
Yeah.
And I will be sharing them. If there ever is a XXXmas 2, sign me up for send me that Indiegogo immediately, because I need to have, I would, love to definitely check that one out. And I'll definitely be awaiting, on my latest Your Salvation. So
I appreciate it.
Looking forward to that. And thank you for jumping on here, James, and talking with us a little bit about film, a little bit about horror, sharing your inputs. You are welcome back anytime. And hopefully, we get to connect again down the road.
It was fun, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon.
Take care, man.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.